Before we begin, you probably took a look at the title of this video and thought, wait a second, why is failure part of this? Failure is never an option. I can't fail. How can I succeed if I fail? Well, I'm here to tell you, failure is part of the journey, and that's okay. The main problem is, if you let your failure knock you down permanently, then you will never achieve success. This is why I say failure is part of the journey. You need to fail before you succeed. I still remember to this day being a sophomore in my undergraduate institution, and my story for medical school wasn't the strongest at that time because I didn't think I really had to start putting it together at that time. Largely because I was like, okay, it's a while away. I got plenty of time. I'll figure it out later on. Little did I know this would come back to bite me. So, there was this early selection program for a medical school that I was really interested in for some time, and you had to apply for it as a sophomore. I remember I was super excited to apply for it because I was like, okay, we'll see how it goes, you know? I'll just tell my story, it'll all be fine. I've done the work, I've gotten A's in my classes and everything, I'll be fine. So what did I do? I had to list some essay questions. I had to answer them as thoroughly as I could, and a large part of this talked about why this school, why medicine, what made me want to enter this field. And like I said, I hadn't thought too deeply about this. It was just some standard cookie cutter answer, which is like, oh, I like helping people, I like science, you know, like that kind of thing, which okay, yeah, true, that's something, but I didn't know back then that was a service level answer. I didn't know back then how deep I really needed to think to answer this question thoroughly. So, I wrote as confidently as I could for this application. But again, I didn't really have the experiences to tell me why I wanted to go into medicine. A large part of me wanting to go into it was just because I had the overt naive, overt positive mindset for it. I was like, okay, it's a good field. I'll help people, like I said. So that's the vibe that my essay questions gave off. Reading them to this day, I can just see, I was like, wow, I had no clue back then, did I? I really didn't. I sent in those essay questions, applied to the program, didn't even get an interview. Didn't even get to the first step. I was very, very shocked when this happened, and I felt even worse by the fact that a couple of my friends at the time who applied for that program, they got in successfully. They did it. They got through the interview, they did it. I was in the same classes with them, and I was very happy for them and everything, but I thought to myself, what did I do wrong? What happened? I thought I had a good story, but I clearly didn't. There was something wrong here. I just didn't know it at the time. I still remember how hard that failure hit me. I couldn't even tell my family about it for some time. That's how ashamed I was. I just remember thinking to myself, is this really for me? I couldn't even do this. Was it even worth trying anymore? Failure never seems like an option. Because of the amount of stress that we're put under, we feel that we have to be perfect with every little step of the way. This is far from the truth, my friends. Far from the truth. In a way, me not getting into that program was a blessing in disguise. It was a wake-up call for me. It told me, you have a lot of work to do, my friend. You have a long ways to go before you're even ready to apply for med school. This is what inspired me to start thinking about taking more time to really think about, is this the profession for me? Why do I want to go into this field? What inspires me to go into medicine? And so what did I do? I began doing what I do best. I began, again, journaling. I began figuring out why this profession. I started thinking about my clinical experiences. Every little thing. I started to think about the patients, the impact that it would have on them. That's how I began my Excalibur medicine journey and how I successfully got into medical schools on my first application cycle try. To think, I went from all this way, from not even knowing why I wanted to be a doctor, to now being accepted to multiple programs. That is something I'm still very proud of. But again, the failure that I felt when I didn't get into that first program, I still remember it to this day. It felt like one of those moments when I was doing a bench press at the gym and my arms were just gassed. There was no way I was going to be able to lift it up. That's how it felt back then. I felt like I needed to lift up that weight to finally get into medical school, and I thought I had the strength to do it back then. But I didn't, and I couldn't handle that thought. This is also part of why I started to think about the reality of entering the field, because before we really enter any field, I feel like a lot of us have a lot of naivety and a lot of like overtly high expectations, if that makes sense. A lot of us start to think like, it's not that bad. Sure, it'll be stressful, but we can do it. But I don't feel like we really fully understand how stressful it is until we experience it. Like, we can think about it on a logistical basis, how stressful it is, but do we really understand it until we experience it? I think the disconnect between our expectations of it and the reality of it are what makes the failure of it hit super hard. I'm here to tell you though, do not let that failure stop you. Keep pushing forward. You never see what's on the other side. If people saw the end results of what would happen if they pushed through, everyone would do it. The problem is the uncertainty of our path moving forward. That is what enables us to let this fear control us. This is what enables us to let failure tell us, we can't do this, we're done. Failure is your greatest enemy here. Do not let failure stop you. Failure may never seem like an option, but it's okay. It's okay to fail every now and then. We are all human, after all. There's a lot of pressure on us as aspiring healthcare professionals one day. There's a lot of pressure on us to always be perfect. But no one's perfect. So you shouldn't try to be perfect as well. No one should try to be perfect. Putting that kind of pressure on yourself is only going to harm you even more. Stop running away from failure. Embrace it. Failure is going to happen no matter what. And this doesn't even just apply to medicine as well too. Whatever profession you're going into, whatever goal you're trying to achieve, failure is going to happen on the road. Are you going to let it stop you? Or are you gonna do what it takes to overcome this? Are you going to tell yourself over and over and over again that you can achieve this? A goal only seems impossible because we haven't achieved it yet, because we haven't been on the journey yet. A goal seems impossible because we are afraid of failure. However, your mindset is largely important for overcoming failure and achieving the benefits of getting that goal. This is why a good mindset is the best kind of medicine there is. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.